Hi, family. My name is Linda, and I'm an alcoholic. I want to thank God and AA for being sober today. I want to thank the Founders Day Committee. I want to thank Juanita and her husband and our host, Paul. From the moment that I was asked to share at this meeting, I've just been met with love and sisterhood and fellowship. So I said I started out with family because that's how I feel. And then I have family here from Queens, New York, from Brooklyn, from Long Island, from Pennsylvania, from Cleveland. And if I've left anyone out, for God, and I have my wonderful husband here, who I met in these rooms. You know, boy meets girl on AA campus. You better have a program. So the big book says that we tell our story in a general way, what it used to be like, what happened, and what it's like now. So I don't come from an alcoholic family. I never saw the devastation of alcohol growing up. I saw guys in the street, who had a problem with alcohol, but I did not see that in my home. When I was 8, my father told me, a little black girl, that I could be president of the United States. That's the kind of hope that my family, what they saw for my future, the possibilities were huge. Right? Imagine getting that message as an 8-year-old. And I was a smart little girl, but I went to Catholic school. I'm the oldest of 4 children. My father had 2 children from a previous marriage, but I'm the oldest of this group. And all was well. I went to Catholic school. I prayed in Latin. At one point, I thought I might want to be a nun, until I found out nuns couldn't have boyfriends, and then I wasn't interested. It's just that they look so cool, So, all is well, and then my mom got very sick. She had breast cancer. She had both breasts removed by the time she was 29, and at 33, she died. I was 12. My life changed that day. I put my Barbie doll down. I never picked it up again because I have 3 younger brothers and sisters. But that's not the big thing that happened. What happened was my relationship with God. I was done with him. He took my mother. He left murderers and bank robbers and all of that, and took this young mother of 4 children and left us alone. And so, even though I was in Catholic school praying in Latin, I stopped talking to him. I still had to go through the motion of praying, but as far as I was concerned, the prayer stopped right here. Also, no adult could now tell me anything they couldn't tell me, anything to do. I ultimately became the higher power in my life at 12 years old. And the other thing that happened was that rules did not apply to me. So I had come up with this thinking that said that because my mommy died, I didn't have to follow the rules like everyone else. So I was grief-stricken, but here was the other thing. I was resentful of everyone who still had a mommy. Oh my God. If I saw a happy family, mommy with the kids, it just broke my heart all over again. I couldn't understand how he could do this to me. So I'm very sad, I'm very angry, I'm grief-stricken, I'm not following the rules. A family member molested me, so now on top of those feelings I already described, I now have shame, and I have a secret. At 15, I got pregnant the very first time I had sex. That's not fair. The whole act lasted 3 seconds, and and I didn't know I was pregnant for months. And so by the time, because I didn't know anything about this stuff. So by the time, learned that I was pregnant, I was really far along, and so the baby was taken from me. I was sent to a home for unwed mothers, so there's more shame. I was removed from the lives of any females in the community, my cousins and my sister, because now I'm this girl, that girl, the one you tell your daughter, stay away from her. So now there's more feelings, and I haven't had a drink yet, and I'm already restless, irritable, discontent. I don't know that yet, though. So I come home from unwed mothers. Oh, yeah, they kicked me out of the all-girl Catholic, high school, and now I'm going to public school where I don't fit in. And I'm following behind a group of kids going to school one morning, and they went in the deli and they bought beer. And listen to my thinking. My thinking told me that if I bought a can of Coke 45, it was going to make things better. I have not had beer yet. It's 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm 16. I'm not allowed to drink. But there was hope in that can. So I bought the beer. I popped the top. It always makes me smile because there was hope in the can. And I drank it down. Nastiest thing I'd ever tasted. I drank the whole can, and a few other things happened. I got a buzz. That was all right. I weaved my way to school. I got there late. I ran into the assistant principal. He said, "Why aren't you in class?" I said, "Why don't you mind your business?" So that's how I showed up, because authority figures meant nothing to me. And then I proceeded to puke my guts up all over the office. So for the next 23 years, because that's how long I drank, alcohol always made me sick to my stomach. It didn't matter what suggestion I took about prepping myself to drink, and I took every suggestion. So don't drink beer, drink wine. Oh, only drink the top shelf stuff. Only drink the light liquor. Make sure you mix it with milk. Mix it with orange juice. I took all those suggestions, and every time I put alcohol in my body, I puked my guts up. That was the beginning. It got worse. Eventually, I began to experience blackouts, but we'll get to that. So I graduated from high school. I got a job, I got an apartment, I got my son back out of foster care when he was 4 years old. I was 19, and it's me and my son against the world. I was working in a bank as a teller, and shortly after that, I was plucked out of the teller pool and put in a management training program, and by the time I was 26, I was working on Wall Street. I had arrived. You couldn't talk to me. I wore expensive suits. I carried an expensive briefcase. I had a secretary, an office, and an expense account. An arrogant witch would have been a compliment. I was full of myself, but there was no joy to this. I was miserable. If you got a raise, I was filled with envy. Whatever was happening in my life, it was never good enough, and I never thanked God for anything. I took credit for all the good things that were happening, and my son and I were blessed. He was healthy, he was smart. We had a good, comfortable life, but none of it really meant anything to me. I started experiencing blackouts, so I was a disco era girl, and I love to dance, and all I need is a mirror, some music, and some liquor. I don't even need a partner. And I'm gone, But at some point during the drinking, I'm on the floor in the bathroom having puked my guts up, and I found out if you lay your face on the cool towel, it helps soothe some of the sickness, on the floor in the bathroom in my nice party clothes. Peeing on myself had become a side effect of drinking. I really tried not to do that. But and then I loved driving under the influence of alcohol. Loved it. Give me some keys and 80 miles an hour, because the rules don't apply to me. Red lights and stop signs are for stupid people. I don't need that. And so because I always got from point A to point B, and I took all the credit for that, I don't give him credit, I couldn't see the road most times. I would follow behind any car in front of me that had red light on. It didn't matter what borough they were going to. They would help keep me on the road. But I often came to on the wrong side of a road, wondering why there were white lights coming in my direction. That didn't tell me I shouldn't drive or drink. Mondays and Fridays became more difficult. Mondays, the hangovers were excruciating. Oh my God. And then Fridays, once you paid me, I'm leaving. So you might get 3 good days of work out of me. So I'm holding on. So now my son is 17, and he graduated from college. I was 33 when he went to college when he was 17, and I was 33, and I said, oh, my job is over now. It was not. He was still living at home. He was in the National Guard. He had a part-time job, and he was doing well. He was an A student in school. Oh, I went in his room one night, having spent all my money the same day I got paid, having not paid rent, bought food, or any other good orderly direction thing. And I went in my son's room and I robbed him. And I knew it was wrong when I did it, and I was filled with shame and remorse when I did it, and I did it anyway. And then I knew, because now I had crossed one of those never lines. I'm never going to do that. But I also knew that I would do it again. And when my son got up the next morning, now my son is 6'3", with this deep Barry White voice, and I had to look him in the eye and tell him to pack his clothes because he was going to go live with my father. I had not called my father and explained anything. My son showed up in his second year of college on my father's doorstep. So now all bets are off. I don't have to pay rent anymore, which I was struggling to do. I don't have to buy food, but I'm still going to work, and I would leave my house with no money and go to the bus stop and get on the bus knowing I didn't have any money when I left the house, and pat my pockets like I forgot my wallet, and because I'm in a nice suit carrying a briefcase, the bus driver would let me on. And this is how I would go back and forth. I was borrowing money from people I made more money than, and then I'd have some story. Petty cash was my second income at my job. So I would pay petty cash before I paid my rent so that I would have more money to use. This is how I'm living. I have drama, stories. I have killed off members of the family to explain why I'm not at work. And at this point, I don't see any hope. Now, I have not ever been to rehab or detox because that's for people that are trying to stop. I cannot imagine a life without alcohol. I have some insight that if I'm not going to drink, I'm going to feel all those feelings that I described to you before. And some new drama has happened to me. I've been raped twice, raped at knife point, and I've also done some things I'm not proud of. I couldn't have told you that in the beginning. In the beginning, I just played the victim card, right? But I've learned, as I got honest, how often I victimize people. So fast forward, after 20 years of working, in February of 1990, I was homeless. I had lost 5 rooms of furniture because, I wouldn't pay rent, so then I had to move, and I would put furniture in storage and not pay the bill. I would put clothes in the cleaners and not go back to get them. My life just kind of revolved around drinking and other things. And the behavior was off the chart. I've been threatened with gun violence and other things. And I was hoping somebody would shoot my butt. But I didn't. And I would survive things that you wouldn't think that you would survive. I put myself in situations that were terrifying on a good day. And I would come out of it, and I didn't thank anybody because, I just got out of it because I'm the great I am. Well, anyway, so February of 1990, I'm living in one room in the basement of this nice lady's house, and she said, you seem like a nice lady, but you gotta go. So it was February. It's the middle of the winter in New York. All my personal possessions fit in a green plastic garbage bag. Everything is gone. I have no keys, no ID, no money. I had stopped taking care of my physical sense, so I'm underweight. I stopped getting dental work. My teeth had started to rot out in the front. I was wearing some man's glasses because I couldn't keep up with the care and maintenance of contacts anymore. That requires good orderly direction. So I'm wearing somebody else's glasses, and I'm sleeping on the E train. This is not a good place for a woman. And some other homeless people suggested that I not do that. I could go up to the hospital emergency waiting room, and the guard would let me sleep there if I came after midnight, and he would kick me out at 6 a.m. So this is now my new home. I went behind Dunkin' Donuts. I watched them dump the donuts from the night before, and I said, this is the new meal plan. Because if they don't put other garbage on top of it, it's technically not garbage. That's what my thinking told me. So now I'm eating out of the dumpster behind Dunkin' Donuts, and I think I'm invisible. Nobody can, I don't know where that thought came, but I'm walking down this boulevard one day, and I happen to see my reflection in a storefront, and it frightened me. Because I don't know what I look like. I'm in denial in my head. So I met a guy who had started making meetings. So if he started making meetings and he's hanging out with me, I am definitely people, places, or things, right? When he started making meetings, and he tried to get me to go to a meeting with him, and we fought, but he came back another time, and I went with him to the meeting. So let me tell you, I like the meetings right from the beginning. Because you people solved a couple of problems I was having. There was cigarettes, and there was a counter filled with cookies. And I would open up a napkin and take all the cookies. I'm stuffing cookies in my bra, in every pocket, because now I got a new meal plan. And I would retrieve a dirty cup and take the dirty cup to McDonald's, and they would give me coffee just to get rid of me. So I'm good now. And the people in the room, so I got to the meeting 5 minutes after the guy with the keys. I'm helping put the shades up. I'm putting the slogans out. I helped set up the chairs. I'm going in the bathroom and drinking. Because I don't know what you people are talking about is the first drink. I don't know. I don't even know why I'm here. I'm not an alcoholic, and I can't imagine life without drinking. And I showed up every day, 3 times a day. I made a meeting at 1 o'clock, and I went back at night and made a double header. So, these people were counting days, right? Well, this is a nice idea. So on Wednesday, I would go to the meeting and say I had 5 days. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, because you people are stupid, and that was the other thing. Stupid people. The very next day, I would be at the same meeting, same people, and I would say I had 20 days. And then I would try to act like someone might act who had 20 days, but I've never had 20 days. So this is a lot of fun, and that will make you drink more. They said men with the men, women with the women. That sounds like a rule. Rules do not apply to me. So I got a male sponsor, but I got the right one. So my sponsor, in order to put me in his car, would spread out a towel. Because, I'm not washing anything. I'm wearing the same clothes for 3 weeks. The fact that the man even put me in his car speaks to the kind of love that I got when I got here. He would put me in his car, so I'm wondering why the man is not hitting on me. I described to you what I looked like when I showed up here, right? So I slid over on the seat next to him to let him know, like he should make a move. And he said, slide your butt back over there. He said, I'm not here for that. He said, you are in critical condition. These words hurt. What is he talking about? And how dare he speak to me like that? He said, but we had, Alcoholics Anonymous has a program of recovery, and if you're willing, we can help you. Now, I thought help meant pass a basket and hook a sister up, one of them collections. So he said, he started talking about these shades and the steps and all of that, so I let my sponsor start taking me through the works. Finally put the plug in the jug after 2 years of mating, 3 meetings a day and 5 on Sundays. Sundays were really hard, right? So now the plug is in the jug, but I'm sitting in these rooms, the first or second one at the meeting, sitting in front of the speaker, and I just want to die. Everything hurts. The thought of the career that was lost, I've never gotten fired. I walked away from the job. I was $60,000 in debt when I showed up. My father died. They had to come get me out of a crack house to go to the funeral, that kind of thing. So I'm just filled with the horror of what these last few years have been. I abandoned my son. He's now married and starting a life. And poor Linda. Poor Linda, a drink. But I'm not drinking. But I wasn't filled with gratitude right away. I didn't understand you people with this happy joy, this happy, we're not a glum lot stuff. I was miserable. I thought when they said they were in pain, they were talking about their leg hurt. They weren't talking about a psychic, spiritual pain from the lifestyle and from the choices and decisions. And I suffered when I first put the drink down. I went into mourning like I had lost my best friend. But the program works. First step, Linda, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and our lives were unmanageable. Now, I needed a little help with the unmanageable part. Hadn't paid a bill, didn't have any keys. My sponsor said, anybody eating out of the dumpster behind Dunkin' Donuts is unmanageable. Okay, all right. And the fact that if I drank, things were not going to get better. So I began to be okay. But now we get to that second step, higher power. When they used to talk about God, it made my skin crawl. How dare they keep insulting me with this thing that I need a power. And here's my sponsor again. He said, Linda, you already had a higher power. I said, no, I didn't. He said, yes, you did. It was called booze. We suggest you get one that's not trying to kill you. That made sense to me because booze told me what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, and I did it obediently before everything else. So he suggested maybe you might want to just try. He said, Linda, why don't you just try everything that we say for 90 days, and at the end of that time, if you decide that it's not better or you don't want to do it, you can always go back to the way it was. Now, I like that suggestion. He said, we are not holding a gun to your head to make you do this. You have to want it. Wow. So that put it right back in my, it's up to me. So now we move to the third step. Make a decision. A decision is an action word, right? Because based on that decision was going to mean if I could move forward with the rest of the work or not. So I said, I heard this guy share, let me just say that, I heard this guy share in the meeting that he was absolutely positive that God was helping him not drink. That got my attention. I got his number, and I called him after the meeting. And I said, are you sure that God is helping you not drink? And he had maybe about 8 years. He said, I'm positive. I said, well, how did you get that? He said, I just invited him in. I said, well, how do I get it? And he said, just invite him in. Just like that. Like so simple. So I think that's what I tried to do. You know, I wasn't praying when I got here. I didn't know the Serenity Prayer. I still have the card that my sponsor gave me with the Serenity Prayer on it in my wallet right now, because I didn't know that prayer. And I was now using it because I wanted to drink my whole first year. I mean, every day. I guess I had I was thinking relapse, and the more days I put together, I said, man, if I make it to a year, it's going to convince me that I can't drink. But I didn't drink. And I celebrated my first year, and my sponsor and I. So now I had to take this fearless and thorough moral inventory, which I heard people be afraid of. But my sponsor said, Linda, we're going to introduce you to someone you don't know. I was like, who? He said, you. He said, they wrote a book about you. I said, really? He said, yeah, it's called The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And he said, my prayer for you is that you find yourself in those pages. And I have found Linda in those pages of that big book. I mean, in page after page and paragraph after paragraph that talks about how I think and how I'm this tornado roaring through the lives of not just my family and relationships, educational facilities, financial institutions, you know, anywhere that Linda took an alcoholic. And my behavior was alcoholic, and how I treated people was selfish and insensitive. And I was okay with it. How dare you say something to me? I want to just describe one thing I used to do. So you know how you go in the bank to transact business? And there's a line. Lines are for stupid people. I would go in the bank. I'm not waiting on no line. I would take me and my transaction, walk right up to the teller. So the people online are going, miss, you know, we're waiting online. I'm like, stupid. So I would go up to the teller and slide my transaction under there, and the nice teller would slide it back out, saying, I said, miss, if you don't take this transaction, nobody will be transacting anything in this bank today. And I would threaten them. So they took my transaction, so that told me I don't have to wait on no line, like the stupid people. How arrogant is it to think that you are the smartest person in the building? And then when I come to AA, I hear all these other people talk about how smart they are. I said, well, we all can't be the smartest person in the building. So anyway, I do my fourth step. I take this inventory. I spend the day with my sponsor going over my fifth step. You know, at first, I tested him out with a few things from my fourth step work. He didn't fall off the chair. He didn't laugh. He just looked at me with love and acceptance. And the more he did, and he shared some things. And when I left that meeting, my feet didn't even touch the ground. I was lifted up. I could hold my head up high. I could breathe in and out. Like, who knew? It was nothing to be afraid of. And if I left those things in, they would corrode and eat away at my spirit, so much so that I would want to drink again. That's what I was taught. The sixth and seventh step, like this daily practice. So now I'm not all cured just because I'm not drinking. Now I have to do something on a daily basis. I have to build a relationship with this God, meaning in order for Linda to do the right thing, I got to seek a power outside of me. And it can't be booze, and it can't be you. Although you can help connect me to the real power. Because he said, you're going to need people. You need to let women into your life. I didn't deal with women too well. Men, y'all were good. You abused me, but I was okay. But women, I had to be taught that in order for me to become the woman I was meant to become, I had to let women into my life. What a gift. Right? Because I'm a woman, duh. Eighth step. So now we build on that fourth step list, right? And the book says we go back year by year, as far back as you can go, uncovering most of the fourth step inventory for me was a drinking inventory, how I behaved when I was drinking. The eighth step list is about everything. So I went and I added people to that list, and then working with my sponsor, we did a 9th step, and I had to put some things in priority. I had to recognize there were some people I could not make direct amends, and amends was not saying I'm sorry. Amends was change your behavior, change your life, learn how to deal with people and all. The people thing, people used to make me want to peel my skin off because they didn't move fast enough. They didn't let me do all the talking, They had ideas about themselves. My sponsor said to me one day, he said, Linda, the world does not revolve around you. I cried for a week. It's like, well, if it doesn't revolve around me, who does it revolve around? He says, not you. So, he spoke a language of the heart that just kind of pierced through my thinking, my denial, my fears, my ego, and he just broke down this program over and over again and kept it really simple. 10th step, now I got to do this daily inventory. And also the other thing he taught me in the 4th step was that there were some positive things. He told me, write 20 positive things about yourself. Now this is after doing that 4th step inventory when I'm just a mess. The only thing I could come up with was I was tall. I wrote one thing on that list. So he sat down, and his kind, loving way, he told me other positive things. He said, oh, you have a nice smile, and you have a nice voice, and, things like that. Things that I took for granted. He helped me find gratitude with the little, simplest, wonderful things in life. 11th step. Over there. And when we were wrong, promptly admit it. Not if. You were going to be wrong. Now, if you can get that you're going to be wrong, then you have to have some kind of understanding that other people are going to make mistakes also. Other people are human. You can't have a relationship with a person where there's no room for the person to make mistakes. And then you want to be forgiven if you make a mistake, Linda. And hopefully you'll want to adjust the behavior and not keep repeating the same stuff over and over again. 11th step, prayer and meditation. I was good with the prayer part. I was wearing out the serenity prayer, right? Or simple prayers like, God help me, God bless me, God bless them, instead of some of the other things I was saying about people when they irritated me, right? He told me, he said, just put God on everything. And here's when I started to recognize something had changed. I was driving or riding down Hillside Avenue one day, and the vehicle I was in did not hit a green light. It hit only green lights. So from the time I left the house till the time I got where I was going, I didn't have to stop. I said, thank you, God. And then I found out that God is also in the red lights. And because I learned that sometimes God will slow you down. Like, I figured out that, maybe there's an accident way down there and he's trying to protect you from getting involved in the accident. Or maybe your butt just needs to slow down anyway. And observe the nature and look at the trees and stuff. So I began to see God in ways that I had not even thought of. And the 12th step. So when I asked my sponsor to sponsor me, he asked me 3 questions. He said, because he didn't just say, yes, I'll be your sponsor. He said, 1, are you willing to go to any length to get sober? I said, yes. I didn't know what that meant, but yeah, it sounded like what he wanted to hear. Question 2, are you willing to get these steps and traditions into practice in your life? I said yes, because I think that's what he wanted to hear. And then the question 3 was, and once you get these steps and traditions into practice in your life, are you willing to pass them on and help keep the doors open for someone else? And I said yes. So then I moved into that 12th step of service. Now, prior to Alcoholics Anonymous, I never did anything for anybody if there wasn't something in it for me. Even as a mother, in any role in my life, unless I could immediately identify what's in it for Linda, I wasn't doing it. I have never had a problem saying no. I had to be taught how to share. I had to be taught how to say yes. So I'd like to share my jelly bean story with you. When I first came into recovery, the old-timers would suggest that as you are detoxing from the alcohol, you might need sugar. If you're not a diabetic eater, they used to have peppermint balls and stuff like that. Well, I'm a big candy eater still, and I would stop at this little store and I would buy 4 little boxes of jelly beans. For me. So I would go to the meeting, and I'm opening up a box, and I'm eating the jelly beans. And I'm not offering anybody anything, because if you wanted jelly beans, you would have stopped at the store before you got to the meeting. I watched this lady across the aisle come into the meeting with a 25-cent bag of potato chips. Let's show you how old I am. They haven't been 25 cents in a long time. But there might be 7 chips in that bag, right? And she opened up the bag, and before she took a potato chip, she passed the bag around to the people around her. I was mesmerized. It had never occurred to me to offer anybody. I got 4 boxes. But let me tell you, it changed me. The next day, I went to that meeting, that same meeting. I bought 4 boxes of jelly beans. I came and I sat down and I opened up one box and I asked the lady next to me if she wanted a jelly bean. And I let her have a jelly bean. But this is progress. and I've gotten a little bit better with that. I still think if you wanted something, you would have got it. Why do you have to eat mine? But I'm very territorial, so that's something I've been working on because it's a fear-based way of living. Like, I got to make sure I have enough for me, and I'm territorial about everything. So there is room for improvement. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about, I mentioned I have a son. My son is now 55 years old. My sober date is September 11th, 1991. I came here, I was 37 when I came here, and I got sober at 39. So I've been here for my whole 40s, my whole 50s, my whole 60s, and I'm now in my 7th decade. What? My son has been married for 32 years he got married the year I got sober, to his high school sweetheart. They have 3 children, all of whom are grown, and one is married. And we live in the same co-op complex. I had dropped out of college. I was going at night, while I was raising my son, and I really became smarter than the professors, and I dropped out of college. And plus, I had this great career already without a degree. Who needed a degree? But in recovery, my first job was a receptionist. And boy, oh boy, I was so filled with resentment that I had to start my career all over again. But I did. So at 43, I happened to hear a woman at a meeting share that she was going to college. She was about 45. And I said, she's going to college, and she was working. And I'm like, wow. So at 45, I went back to college. I graduated magna cum laude. And at 48, I went to law school. And at 57, I went to grad school. So I share that because so often we come in and we think it's just too late. I didn't have money for college. I didn't even have money for the applications, but God could and would if he was sought. And people in the rooms, shared their experience with me about how they did these things. And of course, I took out a whole bunch of student debt, right? The debt that I told you that I came in with, $60,000, I paid every penny of it off. And then I ran it up again because I thought I was all fixed and I had to pay off $40,000, but I did. And now I have like an over 800 credit score, and it's not brag. This is using what I've been taught here, treating money with respect. It is a gift from God. It's a tool meant to be used with gratitude. Who knew? Family. Family has always been a little challenging for me. Family comes with responsibility, and I didn't like it. and stuff that I watch people do without thinking, I have to talk to people and pray about. Someone died in the fellowship, and people went home to start cooking and collecting money and stuff. I didn't do any of that. I didn't know I was supposed to help. I thought you all adults had that all figured out. So I had to be, I'm still being taught how to be a grown-up, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Some of these lessons did not come automatically. I used to say that adults seem to have gotten a manual for living, and Linda did not get her copy. But I have a copy now. It's called The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And in that book, it teaches me about good orderly direction. First things first. If you can't say something kindly, don't say it at all. Take your own inventory, Linda. Stop judging. My sponsor said, Linda, every time you're in a conversation with someone, you pull out a scale. And on your scale, you are always right. He said, you got to stop taking out the scale. And I'm like, well, how do you measure? So it's a day at a time, I am just about running out of things to say. I want to just say that I have received, from the day I walked in here, unwashed and uncouth, I have received nothing but love. When my sponsor told me I had to go back to work, I didn't have any work clothes. And a lady came to a meeting I was in, and she dropped a shopping bag down next to me. And I said, Miss, I don't have any money. I can't pay you. She said, I didn't ask you for any money. But when you get on your feet and you have the opportunity, do it for someone else. So I've been able to do a lot of the things that were done for me. So much love and patience and tolerance, right? I've been blessed to be able to make meetings all over the world, because everywhere I go, I take Linda Alcoholic with me. Boy meets girl on AA campus, so I married the guy that sat behind me in my home group, and he's here today. So next month, we will have 20 years. We'll celebrate our 20th wedding anniversary. I would not be able to be the woman I am today. Oh, and I recently retired. I retired, get this, as a vice president. Again, this is not brag. This is the grace of God and good orderly direction, and He created opportunity. Linda did not. Linda could still be out in that Dunkin' Donuts dumpster treating herself to a donut. But the grace of God and my cooperation, you have to cooperate with His grace. It works. The program works. It's amazing. I hope that someone has gotten just a little bit of hope and a little bit of excitement. If you're not excited about your recovery in AA, then please grab a newcomer. Please grab someone else who seems to be enjoying this journey. I'm having a ball. The ups and the downs, I love it all. Thank you for letting me share.